Yeah, we're rolling. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We got work to do. Everybody's spread out so nobody get the flu. Nobody get the funky. Don't come near me. What's that? I got this. Only 4 pages. Like y'all hadn't heard the story 20 times. We got it. Y'all know most of the story anyway. Well, y'all know most of the story, and they repeat the story twice, so that takes a lot of the. We're rolling at that point, huh? We're cooking with peanut oil. I can tell. You got them funky kid germs. You be careful.
Yeah, I do. We look like we're like intentionally spacing.
I know. That didn't sound good. So who is supposed to have them? Hey, you little goobers, go to class. Your children. I don't know.
Go find a ball.
Who's supposed to be watching?
The Killets, they got sick. And so Josh and Shannon are back there.
Nash is coming in here with me. He said, I'm coming.
Trust me, I know. I have him on Sunday mornings.
Do you want me to go back and help them? It's Anna Kate, Sully. Who else is here?
Sully keeps trying to stay with you.
He'd probably be fine in there.
It's just Roman's the only guy.
Go. Just get him somewhere. Just get everybody somewhere.
Tell him I told him he could not play his Xbox all week if he causes a problem. I bet our dogs can give him a rest.
I better silence my phone. I tell you the story when I almost called my friend he was teaching a Wednesday night Bible study, and he was complaining about the phones, and he just kind of subtly says, you know what's really causing a lot of trouble in this world? These things right here. And I'm watching him online from like in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm sitting there and I'm just watching him, and I went, I'm trying to call him as fast as I can. And by the time he set it down, I called, it got through, but I missed him. So I wasn't waiting for it to go off in his hand. And me just to mess with him. So, gotta love fraternity brothers. They're fair game at any moment. All right, 41, let's jump in. Ashley can catch up with us. 41, 2 years later. I think I said last week 3 years, that it was 3 years. That was my bad. I apologize. I gave misinformation. That was just my truth for the moment. No, 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream. I had a dream. He was standing beside the Nile when 7 healthy-looking, well-fed cows came up out of the Nile and began to graze among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows, sickly and thin. The Hebrew word actually there is evil. All right, so it's this word that means a lot in the Hebrew language, that it can be used as something negative, something that's bad, is something that's evil. It's ra'ah. Came up out of the Nile and stood beside those cows along the bank, eyeing them, wanting to eat them. All right. 4, the sickly, thin cows ate the healthy, well-fed cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. All right. That looks like trouble. All right. 5. Second dream. So we get 2 dreams here, okay? Wasn't just one, it's 2. He fell asleep and dreamed a second time, 7 heads of grain, plump and ripe. Now, this could be ears of corn. That's kind of a translation that we can pull out of this. So when it says heads of grain, if that's a little vague for you, think ears of corn, all right? It can go either way. Plump and ripe came up on one stalk. After them, 7 heads of grain, or ears of corn, thin and scorched by the east wind, sprouted up. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 plump, ripe ones. Then Pharaoh woke up, and it was only a dream. All right? Thank you, Moses, for letting us know that, because we need to know. All right? So he wakes up. Now, anything to that? 2 dreams. Everybody got the 2 dreams? One's with cows, 7 cows, 7 heads of grain, or 7 ears of corn. The sick swallows up the good and healthy. Okay, so we're gonna have good and healthy swallowed up by, and the language is we're gonna find it later on where it says it's the memory of the good times was gone or demolished because of the harshness of the hard times. Okay, that's good Hebrew stuff right there. When morning came, he was troubled. All right, so he summoned all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men, and Pharaoh told them a dream, but no one could interpret the dream for him. Then the chief cupbearer, thank you very little. 2 years later, what does he do? I remember I had this dream, and me and the baker had this dream, and he tells this whole story. Today I remember my faults, or literally my sin. All right. Pharaoh had been angry with his servants, and he put me and chief baker in custody of the captain of the guard. Who was referred to as the captain of the guard? Potiphar. All right. So it's an interesting little play there. He and I had dreams on the same night. Each dream had its own meaning. Imagine remembering all this 2 years later, but not remembering it 5 minutes after it happened. All right. To me, that's always a little fishy. All right. 12. Now, a young Hebrew. Now, how old is Joseph at this point? At this point. We're going to find out later that he's going to be 30 years old. 2 years earlier means he was 28 years old. But yet the chief cupbearer refers to him how? As a young Hebrew, which 28, that's young, right? No, it's just young, period. Even if you're 56, that's young. All right, 28. I got shoes that are older than 28, all right? Young, a slave of the captain of the guards. Remember what we said? Potiphar was there with us. We told him our dreams. He interpreted our dreams for us, and each had its own interpretation. It turned out just the way he interpreted them to us, which he's so fascinated by this. You hear the language, you understand how he's telling the story. And again, how in the world does he forget Joseph? It's got to be providential that this happens in this way, because it's like there's no way you forget this guy. No way. And then to be able to tell the story 2 years later with this kind of detail, it's just hard. All right? I was restored to my position. The other man was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent for Joseph right away, and they quickly brought him out from the dungeon. Remember what we said last week? That he had been thrown into this dungeon, and it's the exact same word as what? Do you remember? The pit. That his brothers threw him into the pit. Now he gets thrown into the dungeon. Same exact word. So it's sort of a play there. He shaved, changed his clothes, and went to Pharaoh. What did this guy look like? If he shaved, changed his clothes, and went to Pharaoh, does that mean he had a little scruff? Yeah, a little 5 o'clock shadow working there. You wanted to go and shave it up a little bit. Tom Hanks in Castaway. I like it. Yeah. Now, what did he look like at 17 with his coat of many colors? Rich kid, coat of many colors. Sharp-looking kid? Well-built and what? Handsome man. Okay. Now what does he look like 13 years later? Tom Hanks in Castaway. Been tough on him, right? So is it a surprise that his brothers do not recognize him? He's aged. He's aged. Now, he probably cleaned himself up once the brothers got there, but still, okay? All right, 15. Joseph said to Pharaoh, I have had a dream, and no one can interpret it, but I have heard it said about you that you can hear a dream and interpret it. I am not able to, Joseph answered Pharaoh. It is God, Elohim, who will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. So he goes through the dream one more time in 17 through 24, the dreams, both of them. All right? 25 we pick up. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's dreams mean the same thing. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. Okay? This is a prophetic dream. So he's letting him know God's about to do this. Obviously, the 7 good cows are 7 years. The ripe heads are 7 years. The dream had the same meaning. The 7 thin and ugly cows that came up are 7 years. 7 worthless scorched heads of grain are 7 years of famine. All right, so very simple. All right, nothing fancy here. It's just as I told Pharaoh, God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance coming on the land of Egypt. After them, 7 years of famine that will take place. And all the abundance in the land of Egypt will be what? Forgotten. Remember that? It'll be swallowed up, literally swallowed up. The famine will devastate the land. The abundance of the land will not be remembered because the famine that follows, for the famine will be very severe. Since the dream was given twice, this is really cool. Since the dream was given twice to Pharaoh, it means that the matter has been determined by God and he will carry it out soon. Period. So how many times do we get the dream? Twice, which means what? The matter has been determined. It will happen. As opposed to what? If God gives a dream only one time, is it like, maybe? Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. What do you think? Because we know when he says something 3 times, what are we saying? And this is what we point out this a lot. If something is said 3 times, that's est, the superlative, okay? It's going, no doubt. 2 times in this moment, given twice, that means it has been determined by God and he will carry it out soon. But what if he only says something 1 time? Does that make it less of a true statement or less of a prophetic moment? Think about this. Jonah goes to Nineveh and God had told him what? I'm going to do what? I'm going to wipe them out. Go tell them. He tells them, they repent, and what happens? He doesn't wipe them out. Because he told them how many times? 1 time. All right? Do we get a little wiggle room here? If he gives it twice, it's going to happen. Which should tell you something, because you can take that 3rd step and go, what about when God says something 3 times? We ain't playing around. So when Pilate says, I find no charge in him, I find no charge in him, I find no charge in him, what does that tell you about the blameless nature of Christ? The holy nature of God. Okay, y'all with me? We see this, again, pick up on these things, pick up on these cues. Okay, see, we made it through the first page in like 4 seconds, right? We're rolling. So now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man, all right? And set him over the land of Egypt, and let Pharaoh do this. Let him appoint an overseers over the land and take a 5th of the harvest of the land of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. So what's the tax rate? 20% tax rate. Is that good or bad? Depends on how wealthy you are, all right? Now, when you get taxes, does your government hold those taxes for you so that they can give them back to you when it's a tough time? Yes? Bobby's living off all of us right now, all right? Enjoying cashing that Social Security check. Not yet? Seriously? All right. It ain't there anyway, so we borrowed it from the Chinese, all right? Okay, 20%. So we take 20%. Now, I want you to think about the fairness of this situation. So Joseph says, Pharaoh, here's what you need to do. You need to tax the people 20% of all the abundance they're going to have in the good years. And then we'll store it all up in the cities so that it will be there for the people when the bad times come. Okay? Now, is he going to just go back and just start handing it out to the people who paid into the system? Is this a Social Security? Is it a lockbox thing here? Stay with it, all right? 20% tax, all right? 35. Let them gather all the excess food during these good years that are coming. Under Pharaoh's authority, store the grain in the cities. Don't transport them all over the place, put them right there in the cities so they may preserve it as food. The food will be a reserve for the land during the 7 years of famine that will take place in the land. Then the country will not be wiped out by the famine. Okay? So it's a good plan, right? We're going to store up the food, we're going to put it in the cities, and when the bad times come, we will have enough food for all of us. So we can get it right back. Okay? It's a good system. The proposal pleased Pharaoh and all his servants. Then Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find anyone like this, a man who has God's Spirit in him?" Now, what preposition do we normally see? That God was with him. Is this just another way of saying that? That the Spirit, God's Spirit was in him, with him? Is that similar? And who notices this? Some godly person? No. Pharaoh himself notices something supernatural, divine is in this kid. We would see it on sort of the other side of the coin as what? And God was with him. Pharaoh sees this side of the coin. God is in him, with him. All right, so it's just a neat little mix there. 39 says, "Then so Pharaoh said to Joseph, 'Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one as intelligent and as wise as you are. You will be over my house. My people will obey your commands. Only with regard to the throne will I be greater than you.' And Pharaoh also said to Joseph, 'See, I am placing you over the land.' He gave him a signet ring, linen garments, gold chain, a second chariot, because you need a second chariot, servants, and they're supposed to run around, and you can see this in verse 43, yelling, 'Abrak, Abrak,' all right, which means bow down or bow the knee or pay homage. It's interesting that the Holman and the CSB are the only ones that actually put the actual Hebrew word in here. The rest of the translations just say pay homage or bow the knee or make way, some of those things. So he places him over the land. He gets a wife, or he gets a new name. What's his new name? You see it in 45? Zaphnath-Paneah, and he gets a wife, Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, which seemed to be a popular name, I guess. And Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. All based on what? Think about all the changes. Think about everything that has transpired in this moment right here. Talk about Inauguration Day. Inauguration Day, especially this year, was a bit of a whirlwind. All right? A little bit going on this year, this term. Yeah, I mean, Trump gets in office, and did anything change? Or was it sort of ho-hum, have a ball, have a thing, and then, it's just another day in America, right? Did anything change? No, a week and a half ago? Yeah, 10 days ago? Yeah, everything changed, okay? And how much changes here? Pharaoh has a dream that this night, two dreams, wakes up, frustrated, calls in everybody. No one can interpret it. Chief cupbearer goes, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot that guy." I mean, how much do you have to apologize to this guy in this moment? Tells Pharaoh the story. Pharaoh goes, "Well, go get him." Shaves him up, gets his clothes on, comes in, tells him the dream. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to have 7 years of good, 7 years of famine. Probably might want to put somebody in charge of this, start storing up the stuff. Joseph maybe walks out, and Pharaoh goes, "Well, this guy's the smartest one in the whole bunch. Let's put him in charge." Gets him a signet ring, gets him a gold chain, a second chariot, linen garments, gives him a new wife. He gets a new name. And by lunch, how much has changed? Do you see what I'm saying? All based on what? 2 dreams and a slave prisoner who claims to know what the interpretation of these 2 crazy dreams are.
That's what I find wild, that they went, "That's what you say it is? I bet you're right."
And that's what I'm saying. When you look at the degree to which the whole government changed, all because of this interpretation. Literally, it's not even lunch yet, and the entire Egyptian kingdom has now changed everything. I wonder if anybody was going, "Are we really Are we really going here? Are we really going to do all this based on this? Because what if he's wrong? What if he has no idea what he's talking about? And we did all of this. Do you see? And I just want you to see the degree to which.
There were naysayers.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine.
But you can't naysay Pharaoh, so.
Well, the baker might have, and that didn't work out so well for him. So, anyway, I just want you to because I think we read this story because we've heard it so many times, and we're vacation Bible school to death, and we just read it and we just accept it. That, oh yeah, that's what. Of course you do that because it is going to be 7 years of famine and 7 years of or 7 years of good and 7 years of famine. But how would they know? Why would they trust in this slave's God? What is there any evidence that would give him some validity? That's it. So a chief cupbearer who forgot him for 2 years tells the story, and that sort of gives some credibility to who he is, but does that give any credibility to what he says? Yeah, I mean, they may go a little hand in hand, but still, to go this drastic of a change, this is huge. This is huge. Okay, I just want you to feel that for just a second. And again, because remember, what are you supposed to do when you read the Bible? You need to learn how to do what? Stop, pause, ask the question of, what? Who in their right mind would completely change the governance of their kingdom because of this? Why would he do this? Something like that. 46, here we go. We get a date, finally. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph left Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout the land. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced outstanding harvests, and Joseph gathered all the excess in the land during the 7 years, put it in the cities, like they said, right there where they could get to it. He put food in every city from the fields around it, all right? So what kind of governance are we talking about here? It's not centralized, right? It's not like, oh, send all of our tax money to Austin and let Austin give it back to us. No, it's take it down to New Boston at the courthouse, all right? Every single city had a storage container, essentially. 49, so Joseph stored up grain in such abundance like the sand of the sea that he stopped measuring it because it was beyond measure. So Egypt is set, right? What's going to happen for the next 7 years, theoretically? I know. I go the same way. But I don't know. I wear shorts and running shoes for a living. I don't do cow or anything agriculture. Keep it dry. I mean, they have like those silos that blow up when you get static electricity or something. It's always interesting. It's crazy. Those things blow up like that. I have no idea, but evidently it worked out. So whatever it was, whatever they were storing, whatever they were growing, grain, corn, whatever it might be. So it's all right there. They are set. They are done. Okay? Now, again, how willfully did you give up your 20%?
Probably pretty.
Why? Wait. No. These people, just think your own human nature, okay? Governing is dealing with human nature. It's why socialism, communism never works, because it never takes into account what?
People.
Greed. Yeah. Capitalism doesn't just take it into account, it uses greed to foster the system. Everybody's out to get as much as they can for themselves, so we get competition, so we get marketing, so we get all of these things, and it keeps a good balance. When you say, oh, there is no greed, and everybody's going to work as hard as they can, and everybody's going to take as little as they need.
Nice in theory.
You see what I'm saying? If you take human nature out of the system, you create a really bad system. If you allow human nature to be the sort of engine of it, now you're working with the flow and not against it. So I'm just curious, these Egyptians, 7 years, they're just killing it. Their crops are growing out of control, and the government keeps taking 20%, all because some dream some guy had, and some interpretation that it's going to go bad. Now, when the things are going really, really well, how many of you are going, yeah, but we know 7 years of bad are coming, so let's be smart and put it away? How many of you do this on your own? You save up for that rainy day. You save up your money just in case the famine hits, you lose your job, everything goes to pot. Smart people do. The rest of us, not so much, okay? It's just, we got it, we need it, we got to spend it, okay? So I've always been curious how the Egyptian people were handling this, okay? Because it's going to get worse, all right? Especially once he realizes, I'm not even counting anymore. We've got so much grain, I can't even count this much, and yet I'm still being taxed 20%. This is not a fun thing, all right? Yeah, it is very tyrannical. Maybe I've just got too much American in me that fights back and goes, hey, I
Like you
should.
had a choice. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, that's a good point. Yeah, because Pharaoh is God essentially to them. Okay, 50. 2 sons were born to Joseph in the years of famine, before the years of famine arrived. Asenath, daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore them. Joseph named the first one Manasseh, meaning God has made me forget all my hardships in my father's house. Interesting how they do that. They kind of go through their worst moment, their worst feelings, and they name their kids that kind of thing. So, I don't know.
I choked on a chicken bone once when
Exactly, yeah. Name him Chicken Bone, all right? Yeah, because my name Joseph means maybe God will give me another. I'm like, well, what about me? Not enough. All right, also we get Ephraim, meaning God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. Then the 7 years of abundance in the land of Egypt came to an end. Dum, dum, dum. And the 7 years of famine began. And again, just jump into the story and don't go, oh, it's going to be 7 years. No, it just is Tuesday, and the next day it's, where'd the rain go? It hadn't rained in a while. How long is this going to last? Well, they said 7 years, but all right, unless you're trusting in that one. Just as Joseph said, there was famine in every country, but throughout the land of Egypt, there was food. Yay! Everything they wanted, right? They're just doling it out. Extreme hunger came to all the land of Egypt, and the people cried out to Pharaoh for food. Pharaoh told all Egypt, go to Joseph and do whatever he tells you, because the famine had spread across the whole country. Joseph opened up the storehouses and, yeah. Okay, say it out loud. What did he do? He sold it to them. Now, obviously, this is not America, because this would be... So I was thinking about this sort of in our system. So we have this strategic oil reserve, all right, that used to be full, okay? Trump actually wanted to fill it up. Remember when gas got like down to $1.25 during COVID? Trump wanted to fill them up when he knew the prices were nothing.
Yeah.
Tap it out. But some people in the Senate said, you just want to give away to big oil, so we're going to block it and not let you do it. So we did end up filling up some of it, kind of like you do when you're poor and you get gas. You go, I'm getting 2 gallons. That'll get me here to tomorrow. We filled up a little bit, but we did it at like 3.25. Remember when it got up to like 3.25, 3.5? Yeah, that's when we filled it up. Anyway, so imagine this. The government takes your tax dollars, goes and buys oil to fill up our strategic oil reserve, all right? And then when we run out and the crisis hits, they sell you the oil that you used, or they used your tax dollars to buy the oil, and now they're not giving it to you. They're doing what? Selling it to you. How's that gonna feel? Yeah, yeah. You donated it, and we're gonna sell it back to you. All right. Yeah, I reading this, I'm like, wow, that took guts. All right. Yeah, exactly. He could have been a good governor. All right. For the famine was severe in the land. Every nation came to Joseph in Egypt to buy grain, for the famine was severe in every land. Now, why don't the other nations get a warning? Why does God warn Egypt?
It's only affected Egypt.
No, the famine was in every land.
Oh, was it?
I mean, well, let's don't go every land. Let's say the Middle East, the biblical land, the whole earth is when they were talking about this. What?
Brothers would be forced to come to Egypt.
Why is that important?
Because that's what
They can live and keep the line of Christ, so Judah lives.
But couldn't God have warned Jacob and said, hey, by the way, I've already told them, but you're also going to have this over here? Why? It would be a different story, but what would we lose if we lose the flight to Egypt?
You lose Judah taking the place of Benjamin, but
Okay, we get that story. We'll get that next week. The dream is now fulfilled that his brothers would bow down to him. But is that, hold on, give me 2 seconds. Is that important? I mean, are we going, oh, thank God the boys went to Egypt and bowed down, because if not, we would be lost. You with me? I mean, is it salvific? Because the story is salvific. Go ahead, what were you saying?
Yeah, it's the redemption of showing that the redemption of that relationship and how it's symbolic.
Okay. What's essential in the going to Egypt? Because if they warn Egypt, Egypt gets ready. So all the nations have to do what? Come to Egypt. Well, in this story, Jacob comes to Egypt and stays. Now, what is that going to fulfill?
the 400 years.
Good. 400 years. Remember Genesis 15? God gives Abraham the promise, you will have land and you will have offspring. The promise is you will be strangers in the land, and then you will be oppressed and enslaved. It'll be a 400-year period. I will judge that nation, you will plunder them, and I will bring you back to this place in the 4th generation. Okay? So going there, what would we lose? Again, what would we lose beyond that if we don't go to Egypt? If Jacob and the boys were prepared just as much as Joseph was, that never happens.
Oh, their families. They wouldn't have. Because after this, their families come and make all the. Their families
Yeah.
are what.
Jacob's family, the
Jacob's
children of Israel,
become
are going to
all
be
the
there.
Tribes. Yeah. And
But
so
couldn't they have done that?
No, because if their families wouldn't have come, then they wouldn't have been prisoners of Egypt.
Okay, and because they're prisoners of Egypt,
They wouldn't have been the slaves, and they wouldn't have been captive, and they wouldn't have been set free.
there it is. They wouldn't have been what?
Free.
Set free. How were they set free?
From God.
Thank you.
Passover. Yeah.
Now, does the Passover have anything to do with that cross?
Yes.
What day on the Hebrew calendar was Passover? Anybody know?
You've said this before. I don't.
On the 10th day of Nisan, they would select the lamb. 5 days later, on the 14th day of Nisan, the lamb would be killed, door painted with the blood, distinguishing mark. You are set free. You're covered by the blood. What day does Jesus die? What day is he selected? The triumphal entry is Nisan 10. He's killed on the Friday, which is Nisan 14. Same time that the Passover animals are being killed, the blood that covered the people in the house, same blood that covers the people in the cross. So do we lose the Passover if we don't have to go to Egypt? Absolutely. Yeah, see what I'm saying? So why doesn't he warn everybody else? Because this is the story. Now, how fun was the story? When it's being told, how fun is the story? But what is the result later on? God's story is going to be told. Okay? So when you see this, that's what you want to follow. Think through, all right, why not do this? Why not tell everybody? Why bring all of this about. So we get the foreshadowing with Judah and Benjamin here in a little bit. Then we get the dream fulfilled, the captivity, the fulfillment of Genesis 15, and then we get Passover, which gives us the cross. Okay? Cool. All right. What else? Everything else? Yep, that's good. All right. 42, when Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you keep looking at each other? Listen, Jacob's just a horrible dad to the 10. And he's just a horrible dad on the whole other direction to the 2. You with me? I mean, just think about the tone. Why do you keep looking at each other? Listen, he went, I've heard there's grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us so that we will live and not die. Love, Dad." All right? I'm like, soften it up there, bud. I mean, be nice to your kids. Wow. All right, 3. So 10 of Joseph's brothers, look the way it describes that. 10 of Joseph's brothers, not Jacob's sons, Joseph's brothers, went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, for he thought something might happen to him. You see where I'm going with this? Or see why I'm pausing here? So you 10, quit looking at each other and go down to the treacherous journey to Egypt, or you might die. Well, what about Benjamin? Oh, no, he's not going. Something might happen to him. Now, is that just the paranoia of a dad, or is that a paranoia of a dad who's already lost a son? But he's not worried about the 10. Why Benjamin?
Because it's his favorite, other than Joseph.
It's Rachel's kid.
Yes.
It's Rachel's kid, and Rachel's last kid because she dies in childbirth. Okay? All right? I just being one of the other sons must have been traumatic as all get out. I mean, like counseling. You could have made a fortune off them in counseling. 5, the sons of Israel, all right, sons of Jacob, were among those who came to buy grain, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Joseph was in charge of the country. He sold grain to all his people. His brothers came and did what? Bowed down before him with their faces to the ground. And when Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he treated them like strangers and spoke harshly to them. Why? Why was he mean to them?
Oh, just to be.
Yeah, because he can. Now, why does he recognize 10 brothers, but they don't recognize him? How long has it been? So he was 17 when they saw him last, 30 when he becomes king, and that starts 7 years. So 37 of plenty, and then we get how much more into the famine before Jacob sends the boys? Well, we're gonna have 7 years of. So we're 37 plus. So 40. He's 40 years old. Last time you saw him, he was 17. How many of you look like you looked when you were 17 when you were 40? Besides me, of course. Me and Amber. Do you really?
I literally do. I peaked very early.
I had hair at 17, so.
I always thought he probably looked Egyptian too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have all the garb on.
If you think about it, he was like, that was a traumatic experience for him.
You think?
So he probably has that last moment with him and his brothers probably sealed in his mind.
Yeah.
And he played that in his mind in a dungeon for how many years?
Yeah. Well, and how did they look? He
Probably
looks,
the same.
he was, the favored child with the coat of many colors, and now he looks like a Pharaoh-esque.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah, he just different, just an older with no hair. All right?
Yeah.
But what did they look like?
The same. Maybe.
Yeah.
pretty old.
And there's 10 of them together. So if one of them had just walked by, do you think Joseph would have gone, "That's my brother"? No, he went, "That looks just like my brother and my other brother, and that's my other brother. Hey, those are my brothers." The 10 of them weren't going, "Where's Joseph? I wonder where Joseph is." Yeah, I mean, at best, he's what? A slave at best. All right? And they bowed down to him. And I think he just did this out of spite. Just talk to him, just because he's a brother, because if you have a brother, you understand. Okay, where do you come from? He asked. From the land of Canaan to buy food, they replied. Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Joseph remembered his dream about them and said to them, "You are spies, and you've come to see the weakness of the land." He knows better. "No, my lord. Your servants have come to buy food," they said. "We are all sons of one man. We are honest. Your servants are not spies." "No," he said to them, "you've come to see the weakness of the land." But they replied, "We, your servants, we were 12 brothers." This is where I know it had to get him. It had to get Joseph. "We were 12 brothers, the son of one man in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no longer living." Why lie at this point? But they're assuming, but they're declaring one is no longer living. One we don't know. One we don't know. Have you ever told a lie, and then you had to keep telling the lie, and you had to keep telling it, and after a while, you started to go, I really actually believe this happened. That you tell it so many times that it becomes part of your story that you just keep telling the same lie, and you just kind of adopt that. And that's just what they have been saying for 20-something years now. Even to Dad. How many times has Dad said, "Oh, Joseph is dead, Joseph is dead." And they just continue this sort of lie. And again, it's why lie to this guy? Anyway, then Joseph said, "I've spoken, you're spies. This is how you'll be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here." Now, pause right there. When they get that demand, what are the 10 of them thinking in their heads? When he says, "You will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here." Period. I ain't never leaving here because there is no way Dad's going to let Benjamin come here. So get comfy, probably in prison. Gosh, can you imagine? All right. 16, send one from among you to get your brother. The rest of you will be in prison so that your words can be tested to see if they're true. If they are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. So Joseph imprisoned them together for 3 days, period. You have to pause right here. Imagine being in prison with the 10 brothers being told, "You're not leaving here until Benjamin comes." Can you imagine the conversations that took place during these 3 days? Again, learn how to pause. You got to pause right here, and you got to let them play it out. Any fights? Any arguments? That'd be a long 3 days of just sitting there and then wondering who's going to go back. Is it one of those things where you go, I'll go back, I want to go back. Or do you go back and you go, "Hey, Dad, I got sent back here to ask you something. And the other 9 are still in Egypt, the lucky ones, got to stay in Egypt. I got picked to come home and tell you that we have to take Benjamin back, or none of them are coming home." Can you imagine that conversation of who's going to be the one that has to do it? And again, who should have stepped up? Reuben. He's the oldest. Should have stepped
Then
up.
they might go, "We don't want to know, because what if Dad says, 'Oh well,
Exactly.
there, as long as I can keep Benjamin here'?" That'd be the worst ever.
But that's what I'm saying. Can you imagine these conversations? Because you know that came up. He is going to leave us all here. But I don't want to be the one that goes back and tell. I'd rather stay here the rest of my life than be the one that has to go back and tell him. So again, let these 3 days kind of play out. Let this conversation go, because we'll pick up some of it here in just a second. On the 3rd day, Joseph said to them, "I fear God. Do this and you will live. If you are honest, let one of you be confined to the guardhouse, while the rest of you go and take the grain to relieve the hunger of your households." Isn't he generous? Yeah. What's he thinking? That's my dad who's going to starve to death. I don't want to keep them all here. Go send them all home. I wonder how they pick Simeon. He just kind of picks him out of the hat, but anyway, we'll get to that. 20, "Bring your youngest brother to me so that your words can be confirmed, that you won't die." And they consented to this. Oh, I mean, what was their choice? So, 21, "Then they said to each other, 'Obviously, We are being punished for what we did to our brother 20-something years ago. We saw his deep distress when he pleaded with us, but we would not listen. That is why this trouble has come to us. Now, who said that to who? Look at 21. They said this to each other. Who's accusing who in this moment? And again, look at the pronouns. We, us, we. Was anybody blaming anybody? No, it looks like kind of group guilt. We all did this. But then Reuben's going to step up. 22, but Reuben replied, didn't I tell you not to harm the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must account for his blood. They didn't realize that Joseph understood them. Can you imagine hearing this conversation? That they don't know it's you, and they don't know you understand, and they're sitting here arguing about why we shouldn't have done this to him. That's an interesting moment right there. Is that describe that. Is that a relief? Is that a justification? What kind of moment is this? When you hear your brothers saying, we should not have done this. And then Reuben tried to stick up for me? I didn't know that. I didn't know that Reuben, in his cowardly way, tried to stop them from doing this. It's a moment. It's definitely a moment. 24, he turned away from them and wept, tells you about the moment. Then he turned back and spoke to them. He took Simeon from them. Why Simeon? Why not Reuben? You think maybe because he just heard that Reuben tried to save him? And go, I was going to take Reuben, the oldest, but now I'll move down the line. And who's next? Simeon. Okay, Simeon's number 2. All right, had him bound. Joseph then gave the orders to fill their containers and returned each man's money to his sack and gave them provisions for their journey. This order was carried out, and they loaded the grain on the donkeys and left there. At the place where they lodged for the night, one of them opened his sack to get feed for his donkey and saw his money there at the top of the bag. He said to his brothers, my money has been returned. It's here in my bag. Their hearts sank, and trembling they turned to one another and says, what is this God has done to us? Now, that doesn't seem like a really negative thing for you to go and reach in your feed bag and your money's there. Is that a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing? Why go that direction? Why not go, look at the way God has provided for us?
Because you're afraid of Pharaoh.
Yeah, you are. There's what?
They're still feeling guilt.
They are still feeling guilty. Go ahead. I'm just curious, why not go, wow, look how generous he was? Why go the, we're in trouble?
Well, it's not like you can just go, this is great, we will never see them again, no big deal. You gotta get Simeon back. So you can't, if he thinks
Yeah.
you stole that, it's not like you'll never see him again. Or you just leave Simeon there forever.
Got it.
I think it was stolen if someone packed the grain for them. So they put the money back in.
Well, in next week we'll see Benjamin didn't pack Joseph's silver cup in his bag either, and he got busted. So there's that story that's sort of on the horizon. All right, let's finish this thing. When they reached their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened. The man who is Lord of the country, he spoke harshly to us. He was mean to us and accused us of spying on the country. But we told him we're honest and not spies. And we were 12 brothers, sons of the same father, and one is no longer living, and the younger is now with our father in the land of Canaan. The man who is the Lord of the country said to us, this is how we will know you are honest. Leave one brother with me. Take the food to relieve the hunger of the household, and bring back your youngest brother to me. And I will know that you are honest, not spies, but honest men. I will then give your brother back to you, and you can trade in the country. And as they began emptying their sacks, there in each man's sack his bag of money. When they and their father saw the bags of money, they were what? Afraid. They're in Canaan. What's he going to do in Canaan? Why are they still afraid? Well, they know they got to go
They gotta go
back.
back,
They know they
yeah.
got to go back. All right. Their father Jacob said to them, "You have deprived me of my sons. Joseph is gone and Simeon is gone. Now you want to take Benjamin. Everything happens to me." Has Jacob grown up at all? He's still a brat. All right. Jacob is just a brat all the way around. God can use anybody. Amen. All right. Even us. Then Reuben said to his father, because this will be really effective, "You can kill my two sons if I don't bring him back to you. Put him in my care, and I will return him to you." But Jacob answered, "My son will not go down with you." Now, if it's you singular, who is that a shot at? Reuben has just offered, "You can kill my two sons if I don't bring him back. My son will not go down with you." But what if it's, "My son will not go down with y'all"? And not Reuben at all. He either completely rejects Reuben as he's not going with you, or he goes, "He's not going with y'all." And what did he do with Reuben's offer? When Reuben says, "You can kill my two sons if I don't bring him back," and Jacob goes, "He's not going with y'all." What did he just do with Reuben's offer to kill his own two sons if he doesn't bring him back? Completely ignored it, which is worse. He didn't even take it into account. He completely ignores Reuben, because it is plural here. He completely ignores Reuben. Doesn't even listen to his offer. All right? Lost my place. 38. Thank you. My answer: "My son will not go down with you, for his brother is dead." His brother is dead, not your brother. "And he," what? "Alone is left. If anything happens to him on your journey, y'all will bring my gray hairs down in Sheol in sorrow." All right? So again, what's Father of the Year doing here?
Whining.
Yeah. Okay, let me keep going with this. "Now the famine in the land was severe, continued to be severe. When they had used up their grain that they had brought back from Egypt, their father said to them, 'Go back and buy us some food.' To which the brothers look at each other and say, what? Did he not hear us when we said last time that we have to bring him back? But Judah's going to step up this time. Judah said, 'The man specifically warned us, you will not see me again unless your brother's with you. If you will send our brother with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you will not send him, we will not go. For the man said to us, you will not see me again unless your brother is with you. Why do y'all cause me so much trouble, evil?' Israel," Jacob asked. "Why did you tell the man that you had another brother?" I mean, do you feel Jacob here? Why? Why'd you tell him you had a brother? I don't know. We didn't think he would tell us we had to bring him, all right? They answered, "The man kept asking us about us and our family. 'Is your father alive? Do you have another brother?' And we answered him accordingly. How could we know that he would say, 'Bring your brother here'?" Then Judah said to his father," watch this, I want you to see this because this is a foreshadowing of Jesus. "Send the boy with me. We will be on our way so that we may live and not die, neither we nor you nor our children. I will be responsible." Literally, this is the word for surety or a deposit, or if I don't bring him back, you can kill me. All right, so he is personally being responsible for this, that whatever happens to him should happen to me. "You can hold me personally accountable. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, I will be guilty before you forever." All right, don't read the last sentence right there just yet. Now, I think this is a clear picture of what Christ says to the Father before the world is created. Now, this is just me speculating, so work with me here. I think because it says all the world was created through Christ, I think this is a conversation that God and Christ had, that God said, we can create the world, we can create a world, but then what if they sin? And Jesus says what? If they do, I will go get them. Because when was the plan of salvation developed? After they sinned? before the foundation of the earth. All right? So I think we have this sort of foreshadowing of this conversation that Jesus is going to say, I will be responsible for them. And you can pretty much take this conversation and drop it into Gethsemane, and you get the same conversation, okay? 10, I think this is Judah mumbling underneath his breath to the dad that isn't a big fan. If we hadn't wasted time, we could have been back twice by now, but Dad wouldn't let us because, can't do anything with Benjamin. Can't do that. All right. 11, then their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take some nice stuff to him. Take the money back. 13, take your brother also and go back at once to the man. May God Almighty cause the man to be merciful to you so that he will release your other brother and Benjamin to you. As for me, if I am deprived of my sons, then I am deprived. Because I'm Eeyore. So you get the Eeyore thing going on here. If I'm deprived, I'm deprived. Oh, well. Woe is me. Everything happens to me. So, and that's where we're going to stop for the night. All right. That was close to an hour. I think we did it. Anybody got any thoughts? Thoughts, questions, remarks? Don't you love how noble all the characters in the Bible are? Just one noble person after another, just beautiful souls, everyone. All right, let's pray. Father, thank you for just an opportunity to look at your word. I thank you for each of these disciples who have come out tonight so they can learn more about you, your character, your goodness, your grace, your mercy, and all of that ended up on the cross to save us. Father, I pray that you keep everybody safe as we travel home and that you would just bless each person for being here tonight. I pray that you would be with our church, just continue to give us influence in this community so that we can share your beautiful message because you have been telling it for thousands of years. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.